Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me at the back? Yeah? Okay, right. Well, thank you very much. My name is Linda Ashton, and I'm the head of Isotopes for Urenco. And I'd like to spend the next sort of 20, 30 minutes talking to you about the advances that are happening in the isotopes world, and yeah, the privilege and luxury that I have in leading the business for Urenco in isotopes that I took up a year ago. So I'm still in that, it's still the honeymoon period for me, and I'm still absolutely adoring it. So today there'll be myself and also someone that I work with called Tom Haywood, who works for a different organisation, and we're going to talk to you about the value chain and the opportunities that we see for isotopes in markets beyond those that we've worked in so far. So, as I said, we're on a nuclear mission within Urenco to look at how we use the technologies, the skills and the capability that we have within our business for both healthcare, research and beyond. Everybody in this room and everybody in the pavilion probably knows Urenco for its uranium enrichment business. Huge business, obviously established for many, many decades. But actually, we in Urenco Isotopes are taking that technology and looking at how we deploy it in different areas. And as I said, today is really going to be focusing on things like the advanced technical areas such as quantum computing, but also medical isotopes. So Urenco Isotopes, as I said, it is... so Urenco Isotopes has come through as part and parcel of the core products that Urenco and uranium enrichment has brought about. And so to just give you a bit of background, UNL, so Urenco Netherlands, was established and started producing materials in 1973. And actually part and parcel of our independent and dedicated facility for isotopes, around 18 years later, started using that technology to actually make other isotopes. So the first product that we made was xenon, and that was commercially available from 1991. In the 17, 18 years between those, we were looking at how we could use that technology for a variety of different elements. And so it does mean that, our cupboard looks a little bit like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory with a whole variety of small amounts of very exotic materials. And I'm now the custodian of that. So, as I've said, we've got dedicated manufacturing facilities. They are approximately 100,000 square feet, so pretty extensive, and they cover 2 floors. So the actual production hall itself is around 120 by 50 meters in size, so it's rather significant, and it is obviously on the UNL site. We currently make around 20 isotope products, so that covers a variety of enrichment levels, and we can also customize those products. We're not just about the enrichment in isotopes, we're also about the chemical conversion, about the feedstock production. So it's a lot more of a holistic process, perhaps, than the other parts of enrichment that are undertaken. And over the last 10 years, we've really heavily invested in isotopes. So we've spent around 40 million euros, and that's on different cascades, different laboratories, and various other kind of infrastructure and equipment to support the products that we generate. We are always more than happy to have people come and visit our facilities. As a person who has worked in the nuclear industry for a long time, and generally associated with nuclear waste management and visiting the kind of legacy facilities that we have in the UK, I can honestly admit when I went round the facility at Almelo, just being blown away by how clean, how inviting, and how you could just walk around with virtually, other than toe detectors, there isn't really any other requirement for any other PPE. Sorry. I promise I'm not going to make you go through all of that again. So I'll also just carry on just to fill in some time. So like I said, we generally make around sort of 20 products with different levels of enrichment and both isotopic and chemical purity. And in terms of the things that we do, you know, as I've said, we look at the feedstock, we understand how the chemistry is behaving when it's through the equipment, the proprietary equipment. We also look at enrichment levels, and then we also do the chemistry and the post-conversion analysis for the product. So whether you need it in metallic form, whether you need it as an oxide or some other form of chemistry, then one of the key things that we're really interested in is not, like I said, just providing an enrichment service. It's actually providing the product in both its chemical and physical form that can be utilized further in the supply chain. So in terms of technology and applications, as I've said, we're really geared towards the medical isotope world, the industrial and research. So we've got various applications that are going on. And it's not just about centrifuges. As I've said, that 40 million, yes, there's been a significant amount in cascades, but also in terms of laboratory equipment, quality control, and other technologies that can be used for enrichment that we can use in tandem with centrifuge technologies. We are also looking at not just investment in the infrastructure. You know, as we move into slightly different markets, then that requires us to have different skills and different capabilities within our personnel. And so we're investing in that too. You know, we're looking at taking people on with kind of radiochemistry backgrounds and also experience in running and operating with cyclotrons and linear accelerators to understand various technologies and areas that just we're not privy to. So as we move into these new areas, it's about us understanding how we can be adding value and how we can get up that learning curve quickly by the collaborations and the personnel that we take on within the organization. And we're also really, really conscious that, as I've said in the past, we've made grams of quantities of material. And let's be honest, some of these materials can be incredibly expensive. So, you know, some of them are 10 to 20 million euros per kilo. And you know, those in this room who understand, you know, things like the ytterbium for the lutetium market will be not in any way, shape or form surprised by the costs of those materials. So in terms of industrial applications, our history, we have a big part of our program has always been on the depleted zinc, which is used primarily for the BWR market and to control dose uptake within the primary system. We've also got non-destructive testing where we look at iridium 191, and we also have the semiconductor industry with germanium 72. But they all have, or definitely the iridium 191 has other medical applications as well. So, you know, as we are moving into you know, clinical trials and such like, which is identifying different materials than perhaps were available 10 years ago, then some of the work that we do now and work that we've done previously is now being dusted off the shelf because we now see different applications for it. In the medical world, we have diagnostics, so things like the molybdenum 98 and the zinc 68. And actually, as we move into this more customizable care, then things like diagnostics will become more and more important. We also have the therapy, so the iridium 191, which can be irradiated for iridium 192, and we also have the xenon 124, which can be used for and is used in respiration studies. And the tungsten 186 is primarily used to reduce or provide pain relief and reduce the pain associated with things like bone cancer. And then really exciting area is the research, so supporting with silicon-28, quantum computing. We're also looking at, you know, with the germanium 76, nuclear physics and dark matter experiments. So really at the cutting edge of the research that is taking place in the world today. And so in terms of market opportunities, and it always seems very cavalier when we start talking about market opportunities in this particular area, especially around healthcare, because obviously it is driven by the fact that there are certain conditions that are on the rise and therefore will require support. So because of aging population, because of an increase in population and because of the demographics as technologies enable people to live for far longer, then cancers are becoming a more and more typical and usual thing that virtually every single one in this room of us will have to, we'll be in contact with either somebody who has it or will be affected by it. And, the statistics are pretty stark. So by 2035, cancer will be the leading cause of death in Europe. By 2050, it's expected that there will be 35 million cancer cases and 18 million deaths per year globally. They are huge statistics and huge numbers. But one of the ways in which healthcare is trying to increase availability, accessibility, and give people a better, higher quality of life is by looking at how they can create, as I said, this more customizable therapy. So that's understanding when you give somebody a treatment, how is it actually affecting the cancer? That requires, therefore, real advancements to be made in diagnostics. So things like zinc-68, which can be the precursor for gallium-68, which is a isotope that's used in PET, so positron emission tomography. Then there's going to be a really big call upon that material. And when we talk about things like lutetium-177, then every single treatment of lutetium-177 will have a diagnostic element, which at this moment in time is going to be met by gallium-68. Outside of the nuclear medical arena, there are also strategic materials and technology. So things like silicon and germanium are key strategic products. China, to date, dominates that supply, and they produce a significant amount of the raw materials. And those exports of those materials have been restricted to the UK, the EU, and the US since 2023. So this is becoming more and more important and critical in terms of security of supply of those strategic materials. Both markets, the semiconductor and the healthcare market, is expected to grow significantly over the next 7 to 8 years, both approaching around sort of 14 to 15 billion by 2035. So in terms of current activities, Urenco is exploring new technologies, like I said, to complement our existing proprietary technology based around centrifuges. This includes things such as EMIS. We are also focusing on strategic and technical partnerships, so things like King's College London, where we did some work for a UK government MRIP programme, so that was to look at copper-67, and that copper-67 was generated from the zinc-68 that we make at the zinc-68 material that is produced from the facility in Almelo. And we're also looking at adding value. Like I said, my team has immense skills, not just on enrichment, but also on the chemistry. And as I said, some of these products are so expensive that we really have to be aware of how we recycle, how we reuse, and how we don't just have this kind of once-through process. That means that we have to understand not just the chemistry of the materials, but also how it behaves when it's irradiated, what products are generated, what poisons might be generated within that material, and how we ensure that the quality control and quality assurance remains paramount, especially when you're going to potentially be using these materials to actually give to people that their system is already in a compromised state. So you want to give them the best chance that they can of getting better. We're also, like I said, looking at pursuing commercial partnerships with others within the supply chain to look at ensuring the security of supply of materials for the Western world. And finally, but definitely not least, is we are also really keen to look how we support innovative and disruptive technologies. Like I said, there's a lot of things that we have that it's a little bit chicken and egg. You know, there are these materials that we've separated, but we didn't do anything furthermore with them because there was no market. However, the market is changing drastically, so some of those products are now becoming of interest. And so we're really interested with the users and the customers, new customers and our existing customers, of what their plans are and actually whether we've got any materials that can support them as they move forward. And with that in mind, I shall pass you on to Tom Haywood. But I'd like to thank you for your time. If there are any quick questions now before we go into the area after Tom's discussion, please, happy to have 2 or 3 questions now. No? Okay then. Right, well, I will pass on to Tom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. And thank you, Urenco, for inviting me here today to talk. I'm happy to talk to you about fusion production of medical radionuclides. So I'm Tom Haywood from Astral Systems, and I'd just quickly like to point out this image, purple splodge here, that's actually a picture, a photograph. So this is to say that we are currently performing fusion. We are making neutrons. So unlike many other fusion companies who are just kind of CG images, this is a real photograph. So at Astral, we manufacture compact neutron devices. This is a research system on the right-hand side here. We're not going after energy production. We are using these fusion systems to produce neutrons and manufacture medical radionuclides, for which we need target material, enriched target material, so hence as what Linda was just saying. So when it comes to radioisotope production, there's 2 main kind of routes to get there: protons or neutrons. Protons typically come from a cyclotron, and neutrons historically have come from fission reactors, research reactors. However, we're interested in neutrons. However, they're not the only source of neutrons. So as you may have guessed, we're interested in fusion, so DT and DD fusion in our case. And we can use these neutrons to produce medical isotopes. So how do we kind of fit into the isotope production? So our goal is to enable local production of neutron-produced isotopes. So we want to do to neutron-produced isotopes what cyclotrons have done to proton-produced isotopes. So move away from kind of large centralized production into a more decentralized local model where the isotopes can be produced close to the point of use. So eliminating the need to kind of transport isotopes long distances when they may have short half-lives, and making them at the point of use, whether that's a university or hospital. So our devices are small. This is one of our research systems here. So it's about 13 centimeters in diameter and about 1.5 meters in length. They're relatively low cost, at least compared to a fission reactor or even a cyclotron, to be honest. And they're safe. They've got no fissile material, so when they're off, they're off. They're not emitting any other radioactivity. And we can fit these systems into radiochemistry facilities with existing infrastructure. So, oh, sorry, this slide's gone a bit funny, but there are some key differences between fission and fusion neutrons, and the most important is the energy. So typically in a fission reactor, it's mainly thermal neutrons, so sub 1 MeV neutrons. However, in fusion, both DD and DT produces fast neutrons. So DD, deuterium-deuterium fusion, produces 2.45 MeV neutrons, and DT is 14.1 MeV. So this higher energy is quite important when it comes to isotope production. So what this higher energy means is it unlocks new reaction pathways. So typically in a fission reactor, you're looking at N-gamma reactions just due to the energy of the neutrons. in cyclotrons, accelerating protons, you can access p-n reaction, p-gamma reactions, or p-alpha reactions, among some others. However, with these high-energy neutrons, we can unlock a whole different range of nuclear reactions, so N2N, N3N, NP, N-alpha, and others. So what this means is it provides different pathways to get to existing isotopes that are already of interest, or even unlocks isotopes which have previously been very difficult to access. Oh, it's gone again. I think I know what the next slide was. So we're interested in a wide range of different isotopes, predominantly medical isotopes at the moment. Copper 64, copper 67, iodine 131, actinium 225, lead 212, amongst a whole range of others. We're focused on using our technology and producing isotopes which there is a current need for, or there's a growing need, and also isotopes which our technology is suited for. So we're not trying to kind of compete with other production methods. We're focusing on what our technology is good at. I think it's almost there. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, and as I mentioned, lead 212 and actinium 225. But all of these isotopes, in order to produce a good isotope, you need enriched materials, enriched starting materials, which can be expensive, and they can be quite hard to come by. So one in particular is production of lead 212 and actinium 225. This is from radium 226. So we have a collaboration with McMaster University in Canada. And this data, these charts at the bottom, so the cross-section data of radium 226 with high-energy neutrons. So these are what we call threshold reactions. So below a certain neutron energy, the reaction just will not take place. So we have to have these high-energy neutrons in order for these transmutations to happen. So from some one target of radium 226, you can produce both actinium 225 and lead 212. Which creates chemistry separation problems, but that's a different challenge. Okay, oh, that was meant to be a video, but oh well. So we currently have two fusion devices operational in our facility in Bristol in the UK at the moment. These are research systems. We're in the process of building 6 of our commercial systems right now. So this is one of the commercial systems on the right-hand side, which is a fairly kind of nondescript grey tube. But there you can see they're small and they're kind of easy to deploy. As I mentioned, we're doing neutron irradiation, so we're open for kind of neutron irradiation services, whether that's neutron imaging, neutron analysis, as well as isotope production. And we've produced tritium and also a number of radionuclides currently in our facility. So into the next year, we're looking to build a further 30 of our commercial systems, which we will build into a high flux array. So you can see the images on both left and right are kind of graphics of these images. And this will allow high flux, high energy neutrons for irradiation of target materials and testing. We'll also have these commercial systems available for sale. And aside from medical isotopes, we're looking at a number of other projects, including fuel waste analysis and other neutronics analysis. So thank you very much. So just to summarize, we produce fusion devices which are currently operational at the moment, and we're using these to produce medical radionuclides. They kind of produce a unique 14 MeV high-energy neutron, which we can use. And yeah, these are available now. So thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions. Hi, yeah. Sorry. Neutron flux. It's quite a tricky question. It really depends on whether we're looking at DT or DD. And sorry, DT. So I think we're about one single system is 1 × 10⁹ currently. So we are lower than obviously lower than a fission reactor, but you can cluster these systems and have overlapping neutron environments, so increase the flux that way as well. But we have a whole program to increase the flux beyond that as well over the next couple of years. Thanks.
So I'd like to thank you all for your time, and also if you'd like to move into the area next door so we can have a drink and carry on discussions as you see fit. Thank you.